I have to admit though, I like your captions that you do.
Yeah.
I think those are cool.
So did I show you how to do that yet, or?
No, I have
Oh,
no
okay. I'm mainly using CapCut. That's the tool that I use to put those captions in there. It's a phone application. And so the thing with that though, it gave me a really hard time last time because anything over a gigabyte is going to slow it down on your phone. And if your phone doesn't have enough RAM on it, it's not going to process the like more than like 10 minutes worth of information. And that's around a gigabyte. So yeah, that's how I get those captions on there. And I was trying to figure out a different way of doing it too. I bought some Adobe software, but I haven't figured out how to use it yet. There's still a learning curve on that for me. But yeah, yeah. It's definitely cool to have too. Like a lot of people really like to see the captions, and I've always been told that when there's like a big word on your Instagram post, people like to click on that stuff. Okay. So like if you have a word that's on there, they do enjoy it. Also, what I was gonna say is I saw you posted a podcast with somebody else. Congratulations. Awesome. So cool. I wanted to see the other person though. Like I don't have access to the other person's profile, and usually you do that when you tag them into the post, or you do like a little @ sign and tag them into that. So if you could do that, that would be really cool so I can check them out.
I'll work on that, Ryan. Right. Cool. So what she actually is, she and I have very similar stories. We're both traditional classroom teachers. She has got, I think she's got 7 children, if not 8 children. Almost all have some type of learning difference. Her husband is on the autism spectrum. We both lived abroad. We both were in search for answers that we weren't able to find in the traditional system. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I will do better at that.
No, okay? you're doing awesome is what I'm saying. You're getting it. You're on it. So I really enjoy that. And if you're I don't know how I could help you more to promote your device too. Like if there's anything I can do to help you promote your simplified learning device, I would gladly do that. So if you can, if there's anything that I'm not thinking of, like other than posting you on my stories or in my Instagram kind of thing, or even like promoting you maybe on Facebook, I think. So I'm just trying to, yeah.
If you'll wear it, yeah, when you're presenting, okay. You know, okay. Like when you're typing, you're giving your notes, because I've been following you too. And you're if you actually wear it, and then you just every once in a while, you don't have to do it every time. Just every once in a while, be like, hey, this is the sound device from Simple Learning. Check it out, guys. It helps me stay on task. You don't even have to say that much if you don't want to.
No, that's exactly what I'll say. I'll say exactly that. On task.
What are we talking about today, Brian?
So today, it hit me so hard with so much loss. I know that our little dogs that we were talking about this a little bit before too, and I don't know if you're open to talk about that process, because it is recent for you, and it's happened to so many people around me right now too. If you're willing to talk about that, that'd be cool.
Talk about my dog dying? That's what you want me to talk about?
You don't have to talk about your dog dying, but it's I wanna talk about like the grieving process that one goes through. You know, it's like that's what I'm more concerned about, the healing process that happens afterwards, or the things that you have to the things that we all go through in that sense, if that makes sense.
In correlation though to the dog or family members or?
Family members, dogs. I had 2 close friends lose their dogs also apart from you recently. And that really hit home. You know, it's like my dogs, I got him when he was about 2 years old. And they said that he was older than that. Like his paper said that he was 5. And I don't think so, because he grew, like he doubled in size within the span time that I had him. So like a lot of those thoughts of like mortality really came to mind. And it's like I fear the loss of my dog in that sense. But
can I tell this story about my dog?
Please do.
Okay. All right. So whenever you're ready, I got it in my head where we're going.
All right, let's go. Thank you for joining me today, Tina. I know it's been it's been quite a week. We had the Super Bowl and everything. So, but thank you for coming on here and being open to the topics that we're going to be talking about. Whenever you're ready to communicate your information, I'm ready to listen.
Okay. So hello, everybody. It is a pleasure to be here with Brian. So when I asked, okay, Brian, what are we talking about this week? Because Brian is the one that usually tells me, here's where I want to go. And then I just try to be here and support him, and I throw my 2 cents in, and that may be what it's worth, Brian, but I still give it my best.
Yes, thank you.
So what you mentioned is the grieving process. And we were talking about our dogs. I had a great Pyranese.
Yeah.
And his name was
Beautiful.
Miamore. If you're not familiar with that breed, they're huge dogs. He was 130 pounds.
Wow.
He was rescue. And because of my work, I wanted therapy dogs, because I knew when I worked with individuals, the dogs make the process go quicker. The dogs put people at ease. So I started researching all of the different breeds. And the Great Pyrenees actually are meant to be on mountains guarding sheep. They're incredibly grounded. They are extremely stubborn. They are not.
Yeah.
They are not the dog that you train to do tricks, or even a lot of them won't even come when you call them.
Right.
But they're self-sufficient type dogs, because they literally are supposed to be on mountains and they're protecting sheep.
Right.
Predominantly is what they're used for, what they were bred for. So I had 2 of them. Like I said, both were rescues, and I worked with them per their nature, but I got just incredible dogs. Miamore was the most grounded animal that I've ever met in my entire life, and I'm a dog person. I'm a farm kid. I was raised in Indiana on a farm. Just an amazing dog. So he traveled with me. Like, I literally took him around the world.
That is so cool. Oh.
Such an amazing animal. So I moved to Phoenix 3 years ago, and being in the city, I have a very small yard, and then the heat. And then I was still traveling a lot. So they were starting to shut down. I was seeing signs to where they were not happy. And so I started thinking in terms of what they were meant to do, what they were bred for, and how could I get them back? So their last days could be with doing what they were meant to do, that they were, be happy. So long story longer, I found a farm in Indiana, and I took them back to that farm, and they literally were with sheep, and they were guarding sheep. And I was told that Miamore had a girlfriend.
Oh, that's amazing. That's so cool. Oh my gosh.
So the farmer actually called me. He was down, he said Miamore is down in the lower fields with the other dogs and with the sheep. He said he was usually one of the last ones to come up. And the female that was with him, his girlfriend, she always came up with the sheep. And they said this time she didn't come up and Miamore didn't come up. And so they went down to check on him. And when the farmer got there, Miamore was actually in the process of passing.
Yeah.
He called me straight away, because I'd stayed in touch with him and checked on him. And he called me straight away, and he let me know what was going on. We cried together. I don't know what everybody's belief system is. I'm pretty traditional. We said a prayer together. And there were other farmers, because it was late in the evening, it was dark. And so it was just very peaceful with Miamore's passing. And then he was actually buried. So 5 farmers came
on the site.
They all dug his grave, and then he was prayed over and put to rest. So yes, I cried. Yes, I was so sad. to, yet at the same time, he had such an amazing life.
Yeah.
And I choose to celebrate his life, and I choose to celebrate that he was so happy his last year.
That's so amazing. That's such a cool story. I love the care that you've given this dog, and the amazing story that's provided here. Thank you to you, your dog, and what you guys do. I mean, even this story is just like, I know it resonates with so many of us dog lovers and our little fur babies and stuff, and it's not easy to lose someone, and people sometimes they don't separate those things between like for me, the loss of an animal is the same thing as like a loss of a family member for me. So like I do recognize that those moments are really precious. And I know you said Miamore?
Miamore.
Miamore. He's in a better place now, and it sounds like he had an amazing life, and such a beautiful story there.
Yeah, he was just a beautiful soul, just an amazing. So one of the things you mentioned to me, that grieving process. So, we're talking about our dogs right now, and I'm with you. I've always had a dog. There's part of the family.
Yeah.
They're just part of my family. And then how do we grieve? What do we do
Right.
when we lose someone or something that we love? And for me, that process is to honor whatever emotions come up. Emotions mean I'm human.
Yeah. Yes.
And there was a time in my life, in my family, crying was not okay. Even for a woman or a girl, you just don't cry. You don't do that. So I was probably in my 20s before I started to get into a more healthful place and recognize the fact that crying and emotion is just part of me being human, and it's a very healthy thing. So I love the fact I saw you start to tear up as I told the story.
It's just like because it's just it comes all together, like for some reason, like I look at like my relationship with you and why we met up, or how we met up, right? And then the things that happen along the way, it's like part of the journey, looking at the journey and how it is, it's like being human, like you're saying. And it's like really like tackling those difficult emotions sometimes. It's like I have a hard time, like when someone says that their dog passed, and like I kind of like I stutter, like I really like I don't know what to say, and I find myself in a really awkward position, because like I know I want to say more, and I know I can't find the words, and then it resonates with me like emotionally, and then I'm just like, then I start like I start like backpedaling and not knowing what to do. So part of that, is because like I don't know the acceptable processes and how we talk about them, right? And I think that's what we're bringing to light here. It's like being able to communicate at this level, like on an emotional level, not it's like not necessarily on what's like socially acceptable, but what's actually gonna be beneficial for us in that sense, if that makes
And
sense.
I think you really hit on something there. If we're genuine, if now what I usually say, especially if somebody I don't know them that well, it's I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And then if I have the opportunity, to talk to them, tell me something that we can celebrate about their life.
Yes.
A good memory.
Yes.
And then and hold space for the individual if they start to cry in telling me that story. To me, those tears are honoring.
Well, your dog was, it sounds like he was amazing. So I'm definitely honoring this beautiful soul that you're talking about here. And yeah, it's those stories are so cool to hear. Like I recall like one time I had a dog that stole an entire turkey from the oven, and that stuff, like it's like it's so surprising when they do stuff like that. You know, it's like you don't know whether to feel bad or to feel angry or anything like that. And finally, you're just like, for us, it was just like you laughed about it because it was just so funny. She ate the whole turkey, by the way, she by herself like in 10 minutes, and you know, it's like that stuff you never forget, you never ever let go of, because it's so imprinted into that memory, into that fabric, into that like part of your I'm gonna call it soul, but yeah, it's those stories are the things that like that really bind us. You know, it's like those things are the things that help us develop too. You know, it's like whenever someone's angry about something that happened, you can bring a story up like that and be like, well, you don't have to be that angry, it's not that it's not that bad in the long run, it's kind of funny sometimes, you know. So that's what I'm saying. You know, it's like there are good things to be had, or to be taken away from stories like this too. And so I do honor all those pets that have served us and served so many other people too. It's just like I said, you know, it's like that getting to that point where other people are able to talk about it the way that we're talking about it now isn't easy, because there is like a stigma, I guess, or like
Well,
a taboo-ness about it.
especially here in the United States, what I find, because I lived internationally and then I taught in the international school system. So I was blessed to spend time with different cultures. And one of the things I've noticed here in the United States, it's almost like emotions get vilified, like they're a bad thing. And I'm sorry, if you're human, we are made to express emotion. So I always say like a mammal, all right? So can you tell when a cat is angry?
Yeah. You can totally.
Can
totally.
you tell when a deer is scared?
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
and when you think about mammals, like we can see the emotion, we can tell, you know, but you know, if we're going to talk about a snake, can you tell a snake?
I can't tell. I mean, snakes are a little different. They got,
So I have friends that are from Italy, and it's so interesting. So when they talk, I mean, they're just like, picking up their hands.
Yeah, very emotional, very expressive, right? Very expressive.
So I had a really great friend. He was a linguist, and he was like, "You Americans, I don't understand you guys. You're locked up, you know." And we were having this whole conversation, and per his culture, he said, like if I would get angry with you, Brian,
yeah,
that's your fault that I got angry. So therefore, there's nothing wrong with me expressing my emotion. Wow. Because you did that to me, but it's the same way of love.
Yeah.
So if I fall in love with somebody, you know, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, you're the love of my life, you're amazing, you know, right. but he said that's that person's fault. They did that to you. So then it's totally acceptable. You're almost a victim of, you know, and I'm getting a little bit extreme and a little bit of drama here. But whereas here in the United States, you know, what I mean, what do we get? It's okay to be happy. It's okay to be sad as long as it doesn't last too long.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay to be scared as long as you don't bother me and want something from me. Right. But there's so many emotions that we experience, and to honor, I know with my clients, I talk to my clients, of course, I work with clients that have trauma. I also have clients that are, they struggle with emotion. They don't experience emotion. It's almost like, I compare it to a developmental delay as far as emotion. And I get hired to help people feel, believe it or not. Yes. And there was a gentleman that I was hired to work with, and he basically said, you know, from his family, from his wife, his children, he said, I'm just not emotionally available. I'm not there. Like, I don't feel all that stuff. And he's like, can you help me feel? And I'm like, yeah, we actually can do that. But when you start to open that up, especially for somebody that hasn't felt it and you start to open it up, it's a bit of a slow process because it can become overwhelming. If somebody lives out in the country, you know, and they can chop wood, that chopping of the wood process. I've talked to people where they've taken the Nerf bats.
Yeah.
You know, and you can take it to a tree and literally just.
Wow.
But you those thoughts, that churning that happens, you know, it happens in our head and it happens in our gut.
Yeah.
And then, you know, have that conversation with them till they start to move into and feel those feelings, and then start that process to where it, you know, it really can come up, it really can be released. Now, when I'm working with somebody that developmentally has developmental delays to where the emotion has not been fully experienced, you know, when we've talked about the sound device, we start with the sound device, and as they become grounded, then we see the emotions start to come up.
Yeah.
And then we'll take a look at what might have caused that delay.
Yeah.
And then I can take them through a process to where we're releasing that identity that no longer serves. And then you'll start to see the emotion bubble up and come up. The gentleman I told you about that I'm working with right now, he was so interesting. And I actually did a post on this.
Yeah.
He said, Tina, I thought emotion was like a huge lightning bolt.
Okay.
and then he goes, but the thing of it is we're doing this work. I'm starting to realize it's like this lightning bolt that lightens up the whole entire sky, but then it's got all these little.
Yeah.
And he's like, what do I do with all this stuff?
Right.
So then helping him manage as he's opening the doors to his emotions, taking a look at, because there actually is a sequence to emotions.
Yeah.
They do occur in a process, and then we can start to pull apart each one. And then as we pull those apart, then we can honor the emotion, we can name the emotion, we can name the experience associated with the emotion.
Right.
And then a lot of times that honoring, taking away the guilt, taking away this is not okay, and just letting it be as soon as it comes up, it very quickly rides this wave to where you see it come up and then it smooths out.
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. That's so much information to like process too, because emotions are so complex. Like we're not simple creatures, and our relationships too. I'm glad we're talking about relationships too right now, especially come tomorrow. We're looking at St. Valentine's Day, right? So
Yeah.
yes, and this is also proper too. Like this is all for me. Like it's harmonious in a sense. So I'm glad we're talking about this stuff, and the things that hold us back in our relationships, our inability to express, and then finding out what real emotion is because of the of all the stuff that we've held back in our past. You know, it's like not really being able to develop into different people, into our true selves, right? Like living our best life, as most people are saying nowadays, right? It's like that's a real challenge for a lot of people. And you know, it's like when something like Valentine's Day comes around, and people are wondering, well, you know, it's like, why am I not in a relationship, this and that kind of thing. And you know, it's like really getting to the nitty-gritty of some of this stuff.
Well, and you know, so oftentimes if you can honestly ask that question, like, why am I not in a relationship?
Yeah.
And then take a good hard look at yourself, because it's so hard to be vulnerable. We think in terms of being completely vulnerable with another, you know, and being in fear that we're going to get hurt. The connection we don't make, and I'm guilty of this as well, is we're actually being hurt because we're missing out.
Right. Yes.
That fear is creating that we don't even try. And
yes.
At the end of the day, it's actually not about being vulnerable with somebody else. It's being vulnerable to ourselves.
Yes. I love.
You ever thought about that? We're scared of being vulnerable to ourselves.
right. Admitting and accepting myself has always been a real challenge. Like really coming down to it, it's like, why didn't I take that chance to talk to that person in that scenario, right? Or it's things that it's like where I knew I was holding back, but it was because things that it's like where I knew I was holding back, but it was because of fear, and I didn't want to acknowledge fear. I wanted to give myself the excuse that it wasn't the right moment, and so on and so forth, right? That's where this mindset really comes in. Like that's where like this really like this cohesion of ideas, this convergence of um of thought can really, like, we can peer deeper into the individual, deeper into ourselves, more importantly, I think, because we can't really give other people advice when we ourselves haven't gone through the process. So
Right.
that's why I really wanted to talk about this grieving process as well, because it's all interrelated. It's all kind of it's all cohesive here. And Miamore is such a great name. I love that name. That's so beautiful. Tina,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Again, I wanna know more about Miamore too. Like I want to know like what his favorite treat was, or where his favorite, like, it's like what was his favorite walk. Well, tell me a little bit more about that. I do want to hear that.
Okay, so Miamore was a huge dog. If he stood up, his paws, and I'm a tall lady, I'm 5'8", but he would put his paws here. So he was a counter surfer, and he was smart. So he knew he was not allowed to counter surf, but
Okay,
he
yeah.
also knew if I was far enough away in the house, because I'd hear him. So if I would forget and I would leave something on the counter, and the dog loved to eat, he didn't care, he'd eat anything.
Yeah.
He knew if I left something on the counter where I was in the house, how much that he could get it pulled off and actually eat it before I could get into the kitchen. And he was so darn smart. He'd be like, I got time. I can get 3 or 4 bites down right now. And then I would walk in. Of course, I would yell at him. And then he would give me this look like,
Yeah.
like, oh, Tina, I'm so sorry. Well, this is really good.
Oh, sneaky dog. You knew when he could get into trouble, huh? Shoot, that's what an amazing.
Because you asked about the walk, because I did live in the city, I had them in the city for a while. I personally could not go fast enough because our dogs like to do this nice trot. That's where they're comfortable.
Yeah.
So in my neighborhood, I had a very simple bicycle, and I would have one dog on the left and one dog on the right. I don't have a busy street, and I'd ride the bicycle, and I would just keep the speed just right so they could do that nice trot that they do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
walking them around here, I was always on a bike.
That's awesome. That is so cool. That is so freaking cool. They take care more of us. They take more care of us than we do of them sometimes. Like that's how I feel about our pets. Like I think that's an absolute truth. My mom's always saying that too, and she's so close with all our pets. We've got dogs down in Mexico. We've always had dogs in our life, so it's that relationship. I love it. That's where my heart goes out to you, Tina. And thank you again for for sharing this time with us, and sharing your thought process and some of these coping mechanisms too. I think just understanding and having that conversation is a coping mechanism in itself, and not enough of us have that. So I love your work. Keep doing keep doing that great work that you do. Do you have any questions for me? We're right at the end of the podcast here, so if you have any questions, I'd like to hear that.
So tell me real quick, your dog's favorite food. You said they snacks turkey, but
oh shoot. So my dog's favorite food right now, last night he had like 4 or 5 greenies, and I could tell because he woke me up. He woke me up like in the middle of the night, and I don't know how he snagged all these freaking greenies, but yeah, he took it from like the other dogs, and I guess they don't eat them as fast as he does, but he didn't consume them fast enough, I guess. Like he just yeah, he woke me up with a bad bellyache, and yeah, I was just like, I know what happened. You know, I looked at him, I'm like, I know what happened, guy. So, but yeah, that's his favorite. Well, that was last night. Every day it's a little bit different. He comes over, and like sometimes like he really just likes to snack on bacon or something like that. He takes it out of my hand, you know. It's like he looks at me and he smells it and he's like, I know you have bacon in your hand. I want some of that, right? And he won't eat his food. He'll wait. He'll make me feel bad, and I'm just like, yay, you know what I mean? Dogs are amazing. They are. They are. They are.
All right. Well, Brian, as always, it's a pleasure to do this podcast with you, and thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, team.